What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my review of the Westside Discs King. This one is in VIP plastic. It's right around 167, 168 grams. Really fun disc to throw. Big distance potential. Very, very quick. High-speed disc. This is the first 14-speed disc that I've ever tested and reviewed, and I really enjoyed it so far. Tough to say if I'm going to keep it, just because I don't generally like super fast discs, but this one is probably one of my favorite discs I've ever thrown in the 13 plus speed range. So the VIP plastic is great. It's got a really nice feel to it, a great look. I like the kind of translucent candy look to it, and it's got a fantastic grip for other types of plastic in Champion or Z and stuff. I would say Latitude makes some of the best plastic out there, and this disc, with the Westside name, is no exception to that. Great plastic, really awesome rainbow stamp on this particular disc. Very, very cool. There are your flight numbers. 14 speed, 5 for glide, -1 turn, 4 for fade. Give you a look at the rim design on this guy. Just got that kind of modern, high-speed, wide rim look and feel to it. Nothing too distinct, I guess. Just no real distinct feature to it from my eye. Just a big rim, just a big rim disc. This one's not very domey. It's probably average. I wouldn't say it's flat top either, but just like a little dome on there, kind of a normal profile. I've heard people say, this is kind of an aside, I've heard people talk about how Westside discs don't really match the numbers very well. I find that interesting. I've only tested a few of them, but they seem to match numbers pretty much dead on from the ones I've tested. This guy and the Warship and the Stag, all three of those that I tested and reviewed seem to be pretty much right on with the numbers, so I'm not sure what's causing people's perception about that to change. But not saying anybody's wrong. It's just I find it interesting, and I can't substantiate that from my testing of Westside plastic. They seem to be pretty on for me. So the King, being the first 14-speed disc I've ever thrown, is super fast and very fun to throw. You have to have some arm to get this thing into the useful distance ranges. If you're a beginner, I would say steer clear of anything over a speed 11. If you're a total beginner, I would say don't even try to throw anything other than a putter for your first several rounds, as far as I'm concerned. I think that's the best way to build really good form. Myself and lots of other people started with drivers, and you really have to almost it's almost like a hurdle you have to overcome eventually to learn how to throw putters at mid-ranges and really dial in your form, because you can easily stunt your form really bad by trying to throw drivers straight off the bat. So if you're a total beginner, you don't want to throw anything fast. But you've been playing for a few years, you have a pretty good arm. Definitely worth checking out the King. It seems to be one of the most controllable, really high-speed discs I've thrown, where it was very consistent without being like super overstable. Has a strong fade at the end, but you can still get it up to speed and get some good distance out of it. For me, I could probably throw other things farther just based on my arm speed and the way I throw. I'm better at hyzer flipping stuff. This thing, you pretty much got to throw it flat, or maybe give it some anhyzer and let it fight out a big flight to get distance out of it. I had my buddy out testing it with me, and he's got a bigger arm, and he was crushing this thing on just huge lines and getting big distance out of it. So, I think if you have a big arm, you should definitely be checking out a King. It could easily be the farthest flying disc in your bag if you've got the arm speed to get it up there to where it needs to be. Man, the potential for this thing is huge. For me, it just ends up being a really stable and consistent flyer with sneaky distance, where I feel like it's throw it out there and it looks like it's fading out early, but it still keeps kicking forward enough that it lands pretty far away. Like a few times I threw it out on hyzer to try to like stick down near the bucket, and again, I feel like, oh man, I hung it out early. It's gonna come hook up early and land in short, and it just keeps carrying, and just digs, skips up, and it's right where I wanted it to be. So it's really a solid disc. There's a good chance I'll end up keeping carrying it just to keep working with it, and use it as a tool to try to get my arm speed up and stuff, to try to really work with something high speed like this, just because I do enjoy it. I do enjoy the feel in the hand, and it's a very accurate and consistent disc, so it's pretty fun to throw. So if you got a big arm, dude, you need to check out a King. I bet you can get some huge throws out of it. Could easily be the farthest flying disc in your bag. If you're more of a beginner, you could definitely still get some use out of it. You might want to stick with slower stuff, but that being said, you could still use the King as like a really nice spike hyzer type disc, or something you could throw into the headwind, because if you can't get it up to speed, it's going to fly pretty overstable for you, so it'll be useful for those kind of meat hook type throws, and it can't hurt to have something like that in your bag. So that's my review on the King. A very interesting disc. I'm glad I checked it out, and thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.